Hello everyone. Today we will learn how we could make API calls directly from LWC. So let's imagine that we have a button on the LWC case page, and that button should be able to load for us some additional contacts from some external system. And for that we would like to use possibility to make an API calls from LWC directly without using Apex. So how it's possible to do so? So let's maybe, to make the task a little bit more interesting, let's do the following. So let's try to use a code builder for that. So for us, in order to use a code builder, we need to have one of the following editions. So we need to have a professional edition, enterprise edition, or a limited edition. So if you don't have any of these, what you could do is you could register by the following link and get a test environment from where you will be able to test code builder up. So once you got that trial environment, from here you will need to go to the following tab, Code Builder. So once you will enable your Code Builder application on the environment or feature on the environment, so here you will be able to see install package link. So that means that Code Builder extension is actually a separate package. So then once that package will be installed, you will be able to see that separate Code Builder package in your Salesforce org in chapter with installed packages. So once it's done and you will get your package, so that package will include into itself a permission set that you need to assign to your users. So this permission set will have a name code builder user. Then you will need to find out your user and assign that specific permission set to your user in order to be able to get access to the code builder. So once it's done, you will need to go into the app launcher. In the app launcher, you will need to find out code builder dashboard. So when the dashboard will be opened, here you will be able to click a button launch. So when that button launch will be clicked, you will be redirected to separate page, and on that separate page you will be able to see actually a code builder. But when you will go there, so your UI will be a little bit, like different. You will not be able to see here, like your basics for your application. So what you could see here, it's exactly similar to what we have, for example, in the Visual Studio Code, and you could install here any kind of your like applications. Like for example, in my case, I have Agentforce for developers installed. So it's like available as a plugin, right? So that means that I could use any kind of features related to that directly in that code builder. So also we are having here like possibility to install any kind of other basic applications that we usually use. It's for example Apex PMD or wherever, for example Apex Reply Debugger. So if you guys not aware about this, so it's actually application which is allowing us to do let's say line by line code debugging in the Apex with the help of the Apex debug logs. But for that you will need to enable through your Visual Studio Code or from that application your reply debugger on the Salesforce org. Then like you will be able to look through the logs with the help of that application, right? So it's when you will be able to put your breakpoint in the Apex and then use that application in order to be able to grab basic information. And about Agentforce for developers, it's like a powered tool, right? And what it could actually do is you could check here, right? So it could generate Apex unit tests for the code that we have. So let's see what else could do. Using line auto completion for automatically receive suggestions to write LWC and Apex code. So it's like giving you some kind of like placeholders about how you could generate specific code. Like for example, if you would like to do a regular API call from the LWC component, right? So then it will be able to generate it for you. And as you could see at the sidebar, it will be able to generate you some kind of prompts around like how to build different kind of stuff. So you could use this application. So after that, once you like got that item installed, you could actually connect your org. So in order to connect your org, and here you could connect different kind of orgs, as usual we will need to use basic commands the same as you have in the LWC code, right? So here you could authorize your org, authorize through session ID, but you need to know the session ID, but at least you will be able to authorize, right? So once you authorize it, you will be able to see, like list of your environments connected here, and from there you will be able to do whatever you need in order to, switch from one environment to another. So that means that from here you could work with different kind of environments, and then you will be able to fetch a code from these environments and do, like actually what is required for you in order to proceed. So I connected my environment. So my environment, it's actually separate org, not this org where I'm launching my code builder. And on that org, I, like as usual, click at create lightning LWC component and created that LWC component with the following structure. So first of all, I created some piece of HTML code. So in this HTML code, I have, like regular button with the possibility to invoke function handle fetch from the JS controller. So then if my data will come up, I will, for each line of that data, I will generate a string, let's say, where I will have item name and item email, and if I will have any kind of like errors, so in that case I will draw that section. So how the code look like in the JS side? So in the JS side, it look like the following. So we have a regular function, handle fetch, which we saw we are invoking when we clicking on the button. So after that, we have some kind of API URL. So that API URL, it's in our case public endpoint, but if you will just include it into the code and will try to click on the button, you will be able to see some kind of type exception. So that exception will showing up for you in the dev console, and once you will find out, so it will let you know that at this moment your URL is actually not marked as trusted URL, and you will not be able to work with it. And even if you will already add it, right, and it will present for you, but you will not have this checkbox set, so in that case it will continue to fail because of the type exception. So just for your information, that you will need to work with these CSP directives in order to allow your specifics, like for that API to work, for that URL to be accessible through fetch API. So after that, everything what you need is you need to use a function fetch, and as you could see, because it's coming from the standard LWC, right? So that means that like it's a part of Lightning element class, right? And from there you could already use it. So that's why it's not required for you to enable anything else, like separate or something like this. So you could just directly make that API call to that specific URL, and then you could check for the response. So first of all, here we're taking a look if our response is okay. So that means that we are taking a look that it's not equal to 500, 404, or anything else. So if it will be like this, so then we will generate an error with response status. If like everything is okay, we are just converting our response to JSON using basic functions, like JSON. So once we got that result, right, based on the result, we assign data to data and error to null. And when we have a vice versa situation, when we got an error and no data, so then we are doing, like vice versa situation. So that means now that when we are present on that page and when we click in, like on the fetch data, it's actually, like will get to us the following, like records related to that specific case. So here is an example of how to use Fetch API. So there might be also questions, like what will be better, right? To use it from LWC or to use it from Apex. So it's really depend on the type of, let's say, integrations that you have to do, the credentials, like where you will store them and so on and so forth. So this one, like especially interesting case when it's required for you to make a call, maybe code simple, right? Or when your code don't need to really, like be so secure in terms of like you don't support any kind of, let's say, connected app or things which need to be done on the backend side, right, prior, then you will make that API call. So in that case, fetch, a possibility to use the fetch function, it's like really useful. And if you guys had some kind of like experience in order to use this like code builder, for example, on your project, please like make a comment in the under that video, because it's interesting to see a real use cases when guys using this code builder. Because for me, that code builder is really to look like Visual Studio Code, which is like just wrap it into the package, right, and then install it to the org. And it's in general look like, if you guys aware about interesting things like call it electron. It's when with the help of the electron you could wrap up your code and make it available as, for example, application. So here it looked like something similar happening, because as well you could see here that, you know, terminal is available, right? All kind of basic commands available. You could install any kind of, you know, like applications that you want to install, and so on and so forth. So all this kind of stuff are actually available here. So it's an interesting item, but because of, you know, like licensing limitations, right? So at this moment, not everyone, let's say, really could use it. One more interesting use case how you could use that specific code builder, it's sometimes you have your partner org, and on that partner org, even users with identity license or free access license could be able to log in into your partner org. So in that case, that specific license to use it code builder could be assigned to them, and they could also be able to, you know, like see the same interface, and they could use it. But at this moment, you know, like from one end we have that, you know, like code builder, right, where we could connect all application, run it in the cloud and everything like this. So, you know, like, which is also pretty interesting, right? But at the same time we have a Visual Studio Code which could be installed into your local, and all the same operations will be available here, plus UI will be identical. So that's why it's interesting for me to see real use cases when it's used on the real project, right, or for any kind of company, because, you know, like that code builder, you know, like exists in the market for, you know, a good period of time, but I'm not sure that I saw on real project when somebody is actually using it for the development. So please share any kind of real life examples if you have any. So at this moment that's all, and thank you guys for watching my videos.